What if today was the day you stopped feeling invisible? What if, instead of waking up to an empty room, you woke up with a quiet knowing that this chapter of your life still matters? Not because of how busy you are, not because someone else says so, but because deep down, you choose to believe it. If you're a woman in your 60s, 70s, 80s, or even beyond, and you sometimes find yourself feeling alone, maybe even forgotten, I want you to know this. You are not the only one who feels that way. Many women carry that silence quietly. We've spent years showing up for others, raising children, holding families together, building lives, and then one day, the house is quiet. The phone doesn't ring as often, and you start to wonder, do I still matter? Let me tell you something from the heart. Yes, you do. And not just in some vague, polite way. You matter deeply. Your voice, your spirit, your presence, they still have weight. They still have purpose. Today, I want to share with you 7 soulful habits that can help you reconnect with that sense of meaning. These aren't big, flashy changes. You don't need to reinvent your whole life. But you can begin right where you are, with one small choice at a time. Because this isn't about avoiding loneliness. It's about building something deeper, a life that still feels joyful, nourishing, and deeply your own. So, if your heart has been feeling a little tired lately, stay with me. Let's walk through this together. 1. Begin your day with a loving ritual. Let me ask you something gentle. How do you greet yourself in the morning? Not just how you get out of bed, but how you truly meet yourself as the day begins. For so many women, especially after 60, mornings can start in silence. No children running down the hallway. No one beside you asking how you slept. And sometimes, that quiet can feel less like peace and more like emptiness. But what if you turn that quiet into something sacred? What if your morning became a soft celebration of you? You see, the way you start your day can shape how you move through everything that follows. It does not need to be grand. You do not need to leap out of bed with a smile or follow a long checklist. You simply need to choose something intentional, something kind. One of the most beautiful habits I've seen among wise, joyful women is this. They create a loving morning ritual, a small moment that says, I'm here, I'm alive, I matter. That ritual can be as simple as lighting a candle before the sun rises. It can be sitting at the kitchen table with your coffee or tea, placing one hand over your heart and whispering something kind to yourself. It could be a prayer or a line from your favorite poem, or just a breath, a long, deep breath that says, this is a new day, and I choose to be gentle with myself. There's a woman I know. Her name is Celia. She's 76. Every morning, she opens the curtains in her living room, pours her tea, and plays one soft piece of music. Nothing more. No phones, no news, just music and light. She told me, it reminds me that the day is fresh, even if I am not. And that's enough. Your ritual does not have to look like anyone else's. It only has to feel like you. Because when you begin your day with presence and softness, you remind yourself, before the world has a chance to define you, that your existence is not just routine. It is ritual. So tomorrow morning, before anything else, give yourself a moment of warmth. You've earned it. 2. Create a rhythm that honors you. Let us talk about something that often sounds boring, but is actually a powerful form of self-respect. Let us talk about routine. I know the word doesn't sound exciting, but for a woman who finds herself alone, especially after many years of caring for others, routine can be the very thing that restores your sense of self. Because without rhythm, days can blur. Time loses its meaning. You stay up too late, eat when you are not hungry, watch television for hours. Not because it brings joy, but because you don't know what else to do. I once spoke with a woman named Janine. She was 71. Her husband had passed. Her children lived in another state, and she found herself falling into what she called a fog. No structure, no sense of direction. But one day, she sat down and wrote out the outline of a day. She called it her gentle guide. It wasn't strict. It wasn't a list of rules. It was more like a rhythm, a way to shape the day so it didn't slip away from her. It included things like, wake up by 8, stretch while the tea is brewing, read one chapter from a book, call someone in the afternoon, take a walk. Even if it's just the mailbox, write down one thing that went well before bed. That simple rhythm changed your life. And it can change yours, too. Because when you create structure, you are claiming authority over your own time. You are saying, my day matters enough to be shaped intentionally. Now, this doesn't mean packing your schedule or trying to be productive every minute. No, this is not about achievement. This is about honoring yourself enough to create anchors throughout your day, moments that ground you, soothe you, and remind you of your value. Even small things, a warm breakfast at the same time each day, watering your plants, a short walk around the same block. These become rituals of rhythm. They remind your heart and your body, I am still in motion. My life still has momentum. And let me say this, in case no one has said it lately, you do not need to earn structure. You do not need to be busy to be valuable. You only need to create a rhythm that supports the woman you are now. So, if you've been feeling like your days are slipping through your fingers, start small. Choose 1 or 2 anchors for tomorrow. Maybe it's waking up and making your bed. Maybe it's drinking your tea while looking out the window at the same time each day. Let that rhythm become your quiet strength. 3. Speak to someone every day, even if it's just hello. There is something that many women quietly experience as they grow older. It is not always spoken aloud, but it lingers in the quiet moments of the day. It is silence, and not always the comforting kind. You might find yourself spending more time alone than ever before, not by choice, but by the way life unfolds. Children grow up and move away. Friends move, grow ill, or slowly fade out of touch. Your home, once full of voices, may now hold only the hum of the refrigerator or the ticking of a clock. And in that silence, a deep ache can begin to settle in, an ache not just for company, but for connection, to feel seen, to be reminded that you still exist in someone else's world. Let me tell you this with love. You still deserve to be heard. You still deserve to be included. You still have the right to take up space in someone else's day. That is why one of the most healing habits you can create for yourself is simple but powerful. Speak to someone every single day, even if it is only for a few moments, even if the person is a stranger. Even if you have to be the one who reaches out first. Do not wait for the phone to ring. Do not wait for someone else to remember you. Take that small, brave step and initiate connection. Say hello to your neighbor, even if you do not know their name yet. Send a text to your granddaughter, even if she does not always respond. Write a kind comment on a video, or reply to someone online who sounds like they are struggling. Call your sister, your cousin, your old friend from work. Connection does not have to be deep to be meaningful. Sometimes just the act of speaking, of using your voice, can bring warmth back into your spirit. Let me tell you about a woman named Carol. She is 81. After her husband passed away, she felt like she had nothing left to say. Days went by without a single word spoken out loud. One day, she made a simple promise to herself. Say one kind thing to someone every day. She began with the cashier at the grocery store, then the woman who walked her dog down the street. Then she joined a virtual book club just to listen. Now, Carol says, I speak more now than I did in my 40s. And the more I talk, the more I remember who I am. You do not need to be eloquent. You do not need to have something important to say. You only need to be willing to speak and to trust that your voice, your precious, seasoned, beautiful voice, still holds value. Even if it is just good morning. Even if it is just, I hope you have a lovely day. Even if it is just hello. Because every time you reach out, you remind yourself in the world that you are still here, still growing, still connected, still worthy of being heard. 4. Keep your beautiful mind active and curious. There is a harmful message that many older women have been taught to believe, whether directly or quietly over time, and it is this, that curiosity and learning belong to the young, that the mind slows down and so we must slow down with it, that once we retire or stop working, our days of discovery are behind us. But let me gently and firmly say, that is not true. Your mind is still capable of growing, of learning, of wondering, of expanding, no matter your age. In fact, one of the greatest gifts you can give yourself is a chance to stay curious, to ask new questions, to explore new ideas, to keep your inner world as alive as your outer one. This does not mean going back to school or studying something complicated. It can be small, joyful acts of mental stimulation that keep your spirit awake and engaged. You might pick up a book that you've always meant to read. Watch a documentary on something you know nothing about. Listen to a podcast while you walk or fold laundry. Learn the name of a bird you see outside your window. Try a new recipe. Practice a language, even just a few words a week. Anything that nudges your mind just a little bit forward each day is a gift. Not just your brain, but to your sense of aliveness. There's a woman I deeply admire named Teresa. She is 78. After retiring from her career as a nurse, she felt her days beginning to blend together. She told me she feared becoming mentally fuzzy, like her thoughts were slipping away. So she decided to do one small thing each day to wake her brain up. She started with crossword puzzles. Then she added 5 minutes of journaling every night. Then she joined an online beginner's French class, something she had always dreamed of doing. Within a few weeks, Teresa said something I will never forget. She said, "My mind feels like a garden again, like it's blooming just quietly every day." And it is not just about mental sharpness. It is about joy. When your mind is active, you feel more alive. You have things to talk about, new thoughts to share, new ideas to reflect on. It brings back a sense of momentum, of growth, of becoming. So if you've been feeling foggy or forgetful or just stuck in a mental rut, do not panic. Do not shame yourself. Instead, ask your brain gently, what would feel interesting right now? Then follow that curiosity, even if it leads you somewhere unexpected. You do not need to be perfect. You just need to be engaged. Because when you feed your mind, you're not just preserving memory. You're expanding meaning. You're reminding yourself that there is still more to explore inside and outside of you. And that, my friend, is a beautiful way to live. 5. Practice gratitude, even when it feels difficult. Let us talk honestly for a moment. There are days when it feels hard to be thankful. Days when your body aches in new places. When the people you miss feel too far gone. When the house feels too quiet. When memories sting more than they soothe. If that sounds familiar, please know this. You are not doing anything wrong. You are simply being real. Gratitude does not mean ignoring your grief. It does not mean pretending to be happy when you are not. And it definitely does not mean forcing a smile through your sadness. What it does mean, at its most honest, gentle core, is choosing to notice what is still here, what is still working, what is still soft, what is still beautiful in your life, even if it is just for a moment. And that noticing, that pause to appreciate the small, often overlooked pieces of your day, is what makes gratitude such a powerful habit. There is a woman named Linda, age 79. After losing her husband, she told me that mornings were the hardest. She would wake up with a weight in her chest and feel like she had nothing left to look forward to. Her therapist gently suggested that she start writing down 3 small things each day that brought her even a little comfort. At first, Linda resisted. She said, "What could possibly be good right now?" But she tried it anyway, just once, just to see. Her first 3 things were simple. 1, the smell of coffee. 2, the sound of rain on the roof. 3, a cardinal outside her window. She wrote them down in a little notebook. And the next day, she found herself looking for new things to write, noticing them, savoring them. And slowly, very slowly, she felt her heart begin to shift, not away from grief, but alongside it. That is the true magic of gratitude. It does not erase your pain. It simply makes room for joy to return, even in small ways. You can begin this practice today. No fancy journal needed. Just a scrap of paper or a quiet thought at the end of your day. Ask yourself, what made me smile today? What brought me comfort? What moment made me feel present? Write it down. Whisper it. Hold it in your heart. And on the hard days, look back on your list. It is proof that even in your sorrow, beauty still found a way to reach you. You are still alive. And that means life can still surprise you, still soften you, still give you something to be grateful for. Even if today it is just the warmth of your blanket, the way your cat curls up beside you, or the light coming to the window. Small things, sacred things, and all of them worth noticing. 6, offer kindness, even in the quiet of your own life. Here is a powerful truth that many women do not hear enough. You still have so much to give. Even if your children live far away, even if you are retired, even if your body moves slower or your days feel quieter than they used to, you still carry within you an incredible treasure. Your kindness, your story, your care, your presence. And one of the most healing things you can do, especially when you're feeling invisible or lonely, is to offer that treasure to someone else. You do not need to solve anyone's problems. You do not need to fix the world. You only need to offer one small act of kindness each day. Kindness, as simple as it sounds, does something extraordinary. It reminds you that you still matter, that your heart is still working, that your presence still has impact. There's a woman I know named Frances. She is 82, lives alone, and does not drive anymore. For a while, she told me she felt useless. Her words, not mine. Then one day, she wrote a letter, just a note, to a young neighbor girl who had waved at her from the yard. Frances thanked her for the wave and told her it made her day. That one letter turned into a little friendship. The girl started writing back. Soon, Frances began writing letters to other people. A friend going through chemo, a grandson who had just moved away, even strangers through a kindness project online. Frances said, "The more kindness I give, the more alive I feel." You may not be able to volunteer in person, but you can call someone you know is struggling, compliment a stranger, leave a thank you note for the mail carrier, share a story in an online support group, offer a listening ear to someone younger. These gestures may seem small, but their power is enormous. Because when you give, you open your own heart. You shift your focus from what you lack to what you have to share. And that shift can bring light into even the darkest day. Kindness is not just about the other person. It is also about you. It is about remembering that your life is still meaningful. Not because of what you do, but because of who you are. You are a woman who is loved. You are a woman who has endured. You are a woman who has wisdom in her bones. And there are people, many people, who need exactly what you have to offer. So tomorrow, ask yourself gently, who could I encourage today? And then go do it. Even one kind word, one thoughtful gesture, can change a life sometimes, especially your own. 7. Reflect with intention and let your wisdom speak back to you. Let me ask you a quiet question. When was the last time you truly sat with yourself? Not to worry, not to plan, not to remember, but simply to be. We live in a world that rushes us. Even in old age, there is always something to distract us. The television, the phone, the news. And when the house is quiet, many of us fill that space with noise because we are afraid of what the silence might bring. But what if I told you that the silence is not something to fear? What if it is where your deepest strength lives? As women, we have spent so much of our lives in service of others, caring, nurturing, giving. And for many years, we had no time to stop and reflect on our own needs, our own growth, our own truth. But now, in this season of life, you're being given something incredibly rare, the gift of reflection, the time and space to look inward, to listen, to understand yourself, not as someone's mother or wife or co-worker, but as a woman who has lived deeply and survived more than most people will ever know. Reflection is not about dwelling on the past. It is about listening to the quiet wisdom that the years have placed gently inside you. You do not need to meditate for an hour. You do not need to sit on a cushion or light incense. You simply need to make room for a few minutes of intention. Each evening, before you turn out the lights, ask yourself, what touched my heart today? What am I proud of? What did I learn about myself or someone else? What did I need that I might offer myself tomorrow? Write your answers in a small notebook or speak them aloud, or simply close your eyes and hold the questions in your heart. You might be surprised what rises to the surface. Because here is something I believe with all my heart. As women grow older, we do not lose our power. We return to it. In your stillness, your life begins to speak back to you. Not just the hard things, but the victories, the wisdom, the quiet strength that held your family together, the courage it took to get through lonely seasons, the grace with which you forgave, moved forward, and started again. All of that lives inside you. There's a woman I once worked with named June. She is 85. Every night, She sits by her window with a cup of warm milk, watches the moon, and reflects. She does not write anything down. She simply breathes and listens. And she says, "In that moment, I remember who I am, not who I was, but who I still am." That is the power of reflection. It grounds you. It softens you. And most of all, it reminds you that your story is still unfolding. You are not just surviving your older years. You're becoming more of who you were always meant to be. So make time each day to be still. Not because you have to, but because you deserve to sit in the company of your own soul. Let your own voice, your truest voice, rise gently in the quiet. And let it remind you, I have lived, I have learned, I am still here, and I am not finished. You are still writing the most meaningful chapter. So here we are, dear friend. We have walked together through 7 soulful habits. Not rules, not chores, but gentle invitations to reconnect with yourself, your purpose, and your peace. Maybe some of these habits felt familiar. Maybe others were new. Maybe a few made your heart ache in recognition. Whatever you felt while listening, I want you to remember this. There is no right way to grow older. There is only your way, and that way still matters. This stage of life is not a waiting room. It is not a slow fade into the background. It is a sacred, powerful chapter, one where you finally get to ask yourself, what do I want my days to feel like? Now, what kind of woman do I want to become? Not for others, but for me. Maybe you start with just one habit. A 5-minute morning ritual, a daily call to someone you miss, a moment of stillness before bed. You do not need to rush. You do not need to be perfect. You only need to be present. Present with your life as it is right now. Present with the beauty that still surrounds you. Present with the woman who looks back at you in the mirror, who has carried so much, survived so much, and still somehow offers warmth to the world. Let me remind you gently and clearly, you are not invisible. You are not too late. You're not too much. And you are certainly not finished. You're a woman of deep wisdom, of grace and grit, of story and spirit. You're still becoming, still shaping this chapter. And I believe it can be your most beautiful one yet. Not because of what you do, but because of who you allow yourself to be. So as we close, I have just one question for you. What is one small thing you're willing to begin just for you? Leave it in the comments. Not just for me, but for the other women reading, listening, and searching for a small spark of their own. Your words might be the comfort someone else needs today. Your voice might be the echo that reminds another woman she is not alone. If this video touched your heart, if it brought you even a little comfort, please tap the like button, subscribe to this channel, and turn on the bell so you'll know when we share more soul-deep content made with women like you in mind. Until next time, take care of your body, take care of your heart, take care of your days, and never forget, you are still writing your story and it is far from over.